Hello and welcome to the video of me explaining about why I purchased a speedboat, the cost of purchasing that speedboat, and kind of to give you more of an insight into what's it like to buying, basically restoring and running a Searay 170. It's a Merc Cruiser 3-litre LX model, so it has the power steering. It all goes back to, it was summer in 2020. I was out in Spain, and I went out on a boat, on a friend's boat with some friends, as you can see attached to the video now. Now, as you've seen the video there, we were out on the boat, and it was a really good time, and it put a wee thought in my head like, I'd like to do this as well. Now, being from Ireland, slightly different weather to Spain, Ireland, but I was thinking, this is a good idea. This has merit. And my friends in Ireland did have boats before, and we went out water skiing and stuff, but it had been many years because the boat actually broke because, well, it went on fire, and we poured some water to put out the fire, but some water went into the engine, forgot all about it, and went to turn the key, wouldn't turn. This is months later, but it was actually salvageable because we didn't know this is what happened. But I went up to a man, and well, sure, he took it apart. I'm sure after that it was kind of savage. People took bits from it, and sure, it was never going to work again. But long story short about that, I was out in Spain, and I was out in the boat, and I thought this is a good idea. So I went with my friend to the beach, to a bar. It was a chiringuito, as you can see here. This man coming along in this yacht, and I thought to myself, that man has a name now. Here's me sitting on the beach, but there's this lad out here flying along nicely. And I thought, I could be like that. I could be out in the water. We could go out in the water like that in Ireland, and we could sit on the boats and drink and have fun, as what I was doing here. Boys, I'm here on the boat again where the sunburn happened, Michael. And the mojito boat is coming. The mojito boat. Well, this time I have the shirt on. They moved this, which is bad, but we're in the same place. Life goes on. As you see in the video just there, I thought, I can do this. So I took out my phone. I was sipping an ice cold beer, took out my phone, went on a website, done deal, and there she was, a Searay 170. It was €2,500, and I thought, it ticks all the boxes here. It's an inboard. It's a Merc Cruiser. It's big enough. It'll do the job. But it hadn't been ran in 10-11 years, and it had been left sitting outside in the Irish climate, which is quite poor at the best of times. Even in the summer it probably rains more than any place on earth. So I was sitting with my friend, and I says to her, I think I'm going to ring about this boat. She says, no, you won't. I says, I will. So I was sitting on the beach, could barely hear, took out my phone, and I rang the man. And the man answered, and he says, his phone has not stopped ringing about this boat. And I says, look, tell me a bit about it. He told me a bit about it, and I says, well, look, I want it. I think I'm going to take it. And he says, right, well, there's a lot of people interested in it. Well, look, I says, do you want a deposit on the boat? And he says, look, if you say you're going to take it, I says, look, I'm out on holidays. I'll be back Saturday. Can you hold it to Saturday? He says, I can hold it to Saturday. Like, you know. So I says, right, I'll be there Saturday. I'm working in the morning. I'll come up the road in the evening. It's about a 2.5 hour drive from where I was. So I went to work. And then in the evening I headed off in the Range Rover I'm not going to say Jeep because in America, if you're watching this video in America, you'll say that's not a Jeep, that's a SUV or whatnot. But in Ireland, we just call every vehicle that is a four-wheel drive, it's called Jeep. Even if it's a BMW, whatever, it doesn't matter if it's a Land Rover, anything, it's just called a Jeep. So long story short, heading down the road, I arrived at the man's place. It was in an oil depot, and I went around the back, and there she was inside, and me knowing absolutely hardly anything about boats, being a wee bit mechanically inclined, I says, I looked around, he says, does it run? And he said, yes. And I says, right, you sure? He said, yeah, I had to turn it over, but the starter was hanging off at the time, and there was no battery, it was dead. So I says, right, I'll take it. So I hooked up the boat. He gave me a little bit of what's it called, kind of carpet, marine carpet for storing the interior. He kind of ripped off half it and he gave up. Then he says, this is too much work, which I don't blame him. He had a young family. He really does not have the time to be taking on a project like this. Trust me. So I paid the man and I headed off on the road, and of course I took the customary photo to send to the group chat, as you see here, of me along the road. So I arrived back to Sligo and I put the boat into the warehouse, and I says, it's time to order a few parts. So I'm not going to go through the parts yet, but I will go through the cost list after this. But I ordered a few parts, tried to make sense of the wiring because someone was at it before, it was all over the shop. I got the boat to turn over after a couple of days, which, fingers crossed, thank God, I was very happy because, you know, it hadn't ran 11 years. Why would a boat be sitting up? There was no steering cables in it. There was half the trim was gone at the back. The steering wheel was gone. It was a mess, and I got the boat to turn over, and I was happy. So then tinkering around with the boat more and more, pouring a little bit of petrol into the carb and trying to get it to fire. I finally got it just spat a bit, and the amount of leaves that blew out of it was unbelievable. But after that, I knew the boat was onto a winner. So I proceeded to drain the oil about 3 or 4 times because really the oil, there was condensation in it, to say the least. It was a funny colour. I removed the spark plugs. They were a funny colour as well, more like rust, not like spark plugs. Lucky to give a spark at all. But I cleaned out the oil 4 or 5 times, and now, perceiving to me, I did not know at this time, I got the boat to run better to start. Once I had the new starter in it, I got her to start, and I hooked her up to the muffs, ran her off the water. Now I didn't know, well, I didn't really think that. I was wondering why it was getting a bit hot, but I didn't know that the water pump needs the belt coming down from the drive shaft to turn that to make the impeller go and make the engine cool quicker. So after it was getting a bit hot, I was like, what's wrong with this thing? But finally the thing clicked in my head that, oh geez, the water pump is not connected. So I got all that done. I tinkered away at the boat then for the next couple of months. I had a bit of free time. Ireland was in lockdown, of course, so I had a lot of free time to actually go at it and to try and get the darn thing running. So I tinkered with it. I brought it out in the water one day, as you see here. And then, after that lovely video, you see here. Yes. What is missing in that? Well, the boat was a little bit quiet. I'd broken down. And this was a pattern that was going to emerge a lot over the coming year of fixing the boat. Every time you go out, literally, the chances of you making it back, as I tell everyone to go out, it really is, it's pot luck. It's 50-50 here. You know, you might not. Who the hell knows? If you turn it off, well, it might not start again. So I take it away with her, and she got better and better, and then I really thought I had this boat nailed down to a T. But still, my limited knowledge of boats was coming through, as I did everything really. I took care of the engine, but I didn't really take care of the outdrive. So it's an Alpha 1 Gen 1. So if you haven't changed the oil or you buy a boat, the first thing you do is to change the oil in the outdrive. I just recommend that to anyone. Or else you learn the hard way that, well, you're out in the water having a great time with your friends, and then into gear, you're moving along, and then and stop. And the engine's revving, but she's not going anywhere. And they're like, come on, can we get underway? Can you fix it? And I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to fix this on this occasion, because, well, you're just thinking worst case scenario, and you have to ring people to try and get to come out, and they come out and they tow you in, and you know, they're not too happy, and of course you're a bit embarrassed. That's broken down, and the engine gets hot, and you're thinking, why is that? That's a bit strange. But then you go home, you do a bit of Googling, you figure out that, well, worst case scenario is that if the top of the outdrive gears ring themselves, there's nothing to power the impeller at the bottom of the outdrive, which cools the engine, so that's why it was getting hot. So you say, oh, it mightn't be that, will it? And you undo the 4 bolts on top of the outdrive, and you open it up to see something that's not quite what you want to see, what it doesn't look like on the internet. So that's what I seen. So that was like, ah, damn it, I really should have changed that oil. And now, them being Alpha 1 Gen ones, the parts in Ireland are quite rare. You just don't get a lot of second-hand ones, and anything you do get is just a serious money. So you have to go on ebay.com, and you're trying to negotiate, like, basically from America. They don't ship outside the States, and you try to get sent to your friend's house in America to get it sent over here, and it's a lot of work, and you get it done in the end, but I mean, it is a mountain. So I got that fixed. Of course, the next thing was put in a stereo. I did that, a few bits and pieces, and I got the boat really now, mechanically now, it's kind of, well, it wasn't quite what I did, forgot. It developed, I was out one day on the boat, and we were out in the harbour, and I brought a few people out, and we're having a good time, and then all of a sudden, why is my oil pressure dropping? It shouldn't be dropping that far. It was very high, but now it's getting quite low. And you're thinking, oh darn it, what's wrong now? Your friend's driving away the boat, he said, well, I'm foot down, not foot down, but the throttle down, and we're not really moving. And you're thinking, I was doing something wrong, and you hop up there and take over, and it's like, well, now there is actually no power. We're making about 10 knots here, and we're barely moving against the wind, and there's no oil pressure. And you're thinking, that's not good. So you bring her the 2 miles back to the harbour, because you have no choice, because it's either that or crash into a pile of rocks, and really you don't really want that either. And once you get her back to the harbour, you check the engine to see there's not a drop of oil in it, and you're thinking, well, there was oil in it, and now there's no oil in it. Yeah, there must be an oil leak. And sure enough, there was on top of the timing chain cover a big hole in that, and it let all the oil out. So that really is boating. Like, there's always something new, especially on older boats, that if they're not maintained to a T, things will always go wrong. Always, just expect it. Don't say it's not going to happen to you. It will happen to you, 100%. That'll happen at the worst time, and you'll think, oh, I have it done now. I have everything fixed. It's going to be spot on. It's not. It's not going to be spot on. Something's going to break. Something's going to go wrong somewhere and destroy the whole adventure. You say, oh, I'm getting out of boating. This is a waste of time. But then once you get it fixed, you're like, I'll go at it again. So now we got that fixed, and of course the boat is working great, but we haven't even touched starting the interior. Hasn't even been touched. But mechanically, I think I've got the boat together. So what do I have in my hand here? Yeah, this is what parts I had to buy for the boat to try and bring it up to standard. Now, a Searay 170 is a nice enough wee boat, don't get me wrong, but I mean, like, it's like everything. It basically should say bring on another 1,000, because that is boats for you. So my first invoice is for a pulley and that was for the front of the engine where all the belts go onto. It's on the end of the water pump. Yeah, you're thinking pulley, cheap enough. It'll do the trick. Like, it couldn't that dear, 40 quid? No, €191 for one pulley. You know, it's a lathe machine, like it's a simple pulley, €191 for that. Then another bill here, £27 for a distribution cap for the sparks. A new water pump, because I destroyed the old one when it overheated. That is 84 for £4. And then £34 for an ignition coil. Now, this is like some of the parts at the time when I did the service. I had to do it a few times because, well, it was in a rough state. A fuel filter, oil filter, spark plugs, a long bolt for the starter, marine oil, a trim solenoid, and a V-belt. €139.84, really 140. Then again, a long bolt again because the other bolt snapped off the starter. Because the starter, one of the bolts had already snapped in the starter section, so when you were driving along, it kept loosening the starter, and then you'd be turning the starter and then it would snap off. And you'd be going down the river and you realise, well, I have no starter. And before you even open the engine bay, you're like, do you know what's wrong? And my friends look at me, I'm like, yes. And are you going to fix it? No, we're not fixing it. It's not being fixed today. And then the laughter starts, saying, because we're so screwed, floating down river. So that was €33. Merc Cruiser Alpha 1 Gen 1 water pump impeller kit, because you have to change the water pump because, well, that was in a very poor state, it's still repaired. Well, I say it wasn't changed in about 16 years. Now, a steering cable, a gear rotor, a 90-degree bezel, a steering wheel black, because I thought, well, at least when you see the oil on your hands, it's muck. At least if it was white, you would see it in black. Well, we have some hope of making it look some sort of way respectable. That came to €232. And when I bought it, I thought it was just missing the steering wheel, but it was missing everything from the steering wheel back to the back of the boat. Okay. A new alternator, I forgot about that, yeah, a new alternator, it needed that, and it was for the 3-litre LX, but it was for the newer model, newer wiring diagram than my old one, so I had to just change the wiring and try and rig it that it worked, but thank God it is working. So the alternator is one of the good parts, it's working well. $364 for the top unit of the Alpha 1 Gen 1, the gearbox. Make sure if it does happen to you, you get the right ratio. I think this is 1.98 ratio for different engines, like the 3-litre, the 4.3, the 5-litre. They take different ratios. The wrong ratio on their drive, the boat won't perform at all. Very good. Gear loop, there's no price in that. The genuine Merc Cruiser gear loop pump for putting into the thing that you screw it into the bottom of the Alpha outdrive and you pump it. £13. Merc Cruiser Alpha 1 Gen 1 water pump impeller full repair kit. So that was, we needed more than just the impeller. We needed the full repair kit, so I bought that as well. A dual socket USB port for the boat that I wired into where the cigarette lighter was. That was rusted apart. But this now is good that you can charge your phone, so when you do break down, hopefully you have enough power to make a call. Another oil filter, because the engine oil was so dirty that it destroyed the oil filter we put into it originally through the service. And then that is a copy of the impeller one again. A bilge, because we didn't have a bilge and she'd take on some water, so we needed a bilge. Here's a picture of the outdrive that we got for it, quite cheap in America, but plus taxes, shipping, and then taxes, importation duty into the EU, it came up to a higher price. Alpha 1 Gen 2 bell housing gasket seal. I had Gen 1, but the Gen 2 seemed to fit it as well, so it didn't even matter. That's when I had to take the gearbox off, but I had to put on the new gasket to go onto the back of the outdrive. More oil again, which was needed, 34 quid, and that gasket was 20 quid there. £10 for the fiberglass repair kit that I had to buy when we floated in some rocks. So we bought that. I haven't used it because it wasn't needed used, but you know, you should just have it just in case. Bushing of Portumna Marine for it's €35. I can't remember even what that bushing was for, but probably it was really useful. €35 for some more gear oil lube because the upper drive had rung. I was afraid the wee bits went down to the lower drive, so I kept running it a bit and draining out the oil over and over again to try and get as much metal out as possible because I didn't want it to ring again. But that was nearly about 9 months ago and it seems to be running great, so I'm happy. I'm thinking that is grand. I think there was so little oil in it that literally I didn't have a chance to bring it from the top to the bottom because there just was no oil going down to the bottom because it was just like pure tar. So that actually, because it was so bad, it saved me. And then, let me see, £18 for the power steering belt for the boat. £17 for a water pump impeller Gen 2. That was a copy that I received again. €30 for a thermostat and gasket. I tried to I thought it would run a bit hot, so I said I changed the thermostat. I took off the housing and realised there was no thermostat in it. So someone, probably about 15 years ago, decided in their wisdom that it doesn't need a thermostat. So why would Mercury put it in the first place? Let's just take that out. It'll run just as well without it. So yeah, I got that. And then for the interior, because I have to remember, this boat was in the Irish climate, so the interior, like the floor and stuff, like wasn't the best. The sides had seen better days. The leather on the sunbathing platform had seen better days. It was rotten. The wood was rotten. The floor was okay condition, the sides, but the middle was rotten. The back seat section was rotten. And the two sides to go up the boat wings, you guessed me, rotten. So I had to do what any good boating man would do on a tough situation. I did the bare minimum, and I spent €62 on not marine ply but just ordinary ply to put down on the floor and the back seat to make it work just for a couple of months of the summer. So that's for the 2 or 3 outings we do get in Ireland. I do intend to fix up the interior better. But just mechanically I really want to have that right before I even start that, because if the boat starts and stops, that's what I want. I have ordered a few more parts for her. I have ordered the carburetor repair kit and clean up, because when she's cold she'll start no bother, but when she's hot sometimes it doesn't really like to start. And you know, that's a bit awkward and a bit annoying when you're out in the water or out at sea or out in the lake and turn it off. And you sit for 5 minutes, relaxing, doing a bit of fishing or having a bit of lunch, and you'll start again and it goes. It doesn't start. It seems to drain your battery, and well, then you're adrift again. So I thought we've got to try and stop that, and that's what Google has helped me with.
Come on, baby! See happens! See happens! See happens! See happens, Frankie! See happens!
Wow!
We're not going to die today! We're not going to die today!
I have installed a marine Bluetooth system. I got 2 400-watt speakers and a 160-watt marine Bluetooth system. I do intend to put an amp to get the speakers to go up to a louder quality, but the Bluetooth system, I must say, is the best working thing on the boat. I put it into where the speedometer used to be, but considering that didn't work because the tube was out and we can do it on our phone these days, I said, well, that's a perfect place for the marine Bluetooth thing, so I put it in there. The trailer was good on the boat, so that is a bonus as well. So with all that said and done, it does say if I ever do sell it, I can say lots of service history, stacks of paper. With that all said and done, the boat cost £2,500 €5,000, which in Ireland is quite literally a steal. Like the engines alone, like you can't get them. They're like hen's teeth. You'd be talking €4,500, €5,000 for an engine. Now, I paid €2,500 for the boat, and I put €1,784. You can say close off to €1,800 in, because I haven't really taken into account some oil that I had to rechange it over and over again, and the Bluetoothing system that isn't on that. So you're talking about 2,000, 2,100. So that means I'm in the boat for about 4,600. If I'm thinking, if I'm right, 2,500 plus 2,1. 4,600, spot on. So I'm in the boat for 4,600, and the interior's not done. I'd say there's a good another €800 to be spent on the interior. So we'll jot her up there now. 5,400. Something else will go. Something else will go wrong. So I'm going to say 5 is 200. 5,600, 5,700. So we're in the boat. I say when it's all said and done for €5,600, and I really do think it is a good enough boat for that price. But I saved a lot of money, because I was able to do a lot of the work myself, and it was a learning curve. It really was a steep learning curve, but I have learned a lot from doing it. I could help other people out now, but I mean, if you're not mechanically inclined and you're going to buy a boat, do not buy a boat that has not run in 11 years and like basically has no history, because it will stop, it will break, and then you'll just be screwed. And if you do bring it to a marine shop to get fixed, number one, they will laugh at you. They will also no way in hell you're going to pay to get it fixed, because it would be colossal. If I bought the Alpha 1 Gen 1 upper unit brand new, you're talking thousands. If you got a shop to repair it, even take the unit apart and put the gears in, you're still talking nearly €1,000, because the parts alone are €500. It just would not be worth your while. Really do your due diligence and make sure the transom is solid. Luckily on this boat, the transom is not rotten. It's not really letting in water. Now the interior isn't shit, but the transom is good. Like thankfully, like how much more could physically go wrong with it? But just don't do it unless you know what you're at, because you will regret it. It won't work out well for you. You'll just curse the day you bought it, and then you'll sell it on to another person in the same situation, and they'll curse you. So that's the story about the Searay. I can the next day take you out and bring you on a walk around tour of the boat, and really you can see how shit it looks now, and see what you think. I'm getting there. It's a project. I don't know would I ever sell it. I just park it in the corner of the shed, and years to come I can tell people there's the yoke I learned how to work on boats on. If you want to get anyway mechanically inclined, you go over there and work on that boat, because it'll always throw something up. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a bit about what it costs, and about, you think it's a cheap boat, at the end it just piles up. It just keeps coming, and you know, you'll be in for a learning curve if you take on a project the exact same as what I did. I'll be bringing up more videos after this. I have a couple more projects coming in the pipeline as well. I purchased a Range Rover Classic, so that'll be coming now in a couple of weeks, and a Mercedes SL 1991, so both vintage. I'll be documenting them as well, so stick around, subscribe if you want to see some more random videos on these things. I'm sure it'll be interesting, and if not, well, you don't have to either. Like, I'm not forcing you to, so you can just do really whatever you feel like. Right, thanks, and the best of luck.